Hi, friends.
How are you?
Hope all is going well. Hope you're having a good week.
Yeah, it feels like it's been forever.
When in reality, you guys just heard our voices a week ago. But, are we truly recording?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. This is not the episode that we'd want to have to re-record.
No, because this is probably going to be a long one. So strap in, folks.
But before we get into it, do we want to do a catch-up? What's going on? What's new?
I don't have a lot new. I'm tired. I'm very tired.
Same.
Do
you want to tell about the McKay's adventure?
Oh, yeah. So we did the McKay's road trip, as everyone may be aware. Because I think I mentioned it, that we were doing it. It was a disaster, to put it lightly. I mean, it wasn't entirely, bad, because we still ended up with trade, but, we ended up, so, we left to Nashville at, midnight on the 9th, and then we headed straight to North Carolina. We were headed straight to the Mebane store, which all day long I confidently said Mebane. It is not Mebane, it's Mebane. And we get there when they're supposed to open, okay? It's chaos. It is absolute pandemonium. There are people everywhere. There are cars everywhere. About the time we got there and got in line, there were cops showing up. People were starting to get towed for parking on the side of the road, and then up in this nice fancy subdivision that was nearby, people parking at the Wendy's. The lady next door was charging $20 to park in her yard.
That's the way to go, though.
2 guys showed up with Walmart buggies full of waters that they were selling for $4.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Even if they were to have sold them at $1 a piece, they would have made profit.
Another guy went and got a case of water and was just handing them out for free. And he got name brand water too. Theirs was off-brand water. And then, so we're in this line at the Mebane store going in circles. We got yelled at. It was somebody apparently threatened to shoot somebody else because they assumed they were skipping line. It was a nut house. Well, finally, an employee comes out the side door after almost the 3-hour mark and just starts handing out bookmarks and telling us, skip Winston-Salem store. So we skip the Winston-Salem store, go straight to Knoxville. We piddle-farted around a little bit because we're let's get behind the crowd. Let's let the crowd get to Knoxville, let them get all through, and then we'll show up. So we're about 20 minutes from the Knoxville store when I'm on Facebook. I finally found there's a Facebook group for the event, all this, and people are, talking about their experiences so far and what they've heard and all this. So I get on Facebook and I'm looking, and there's a post from the Knoxville store saying, skip our store. Do not come here. Whatever you would have gotten at this one will be honored at the next store. So we're like, shit. So people have been standing in this line at the Knoxville store for hours. It's 100 degrees outside in direct sunlight. There's no shade to be had. The exit for Paper Mill Road or Avenue or whatever it is, where the Knoxville McKay's is, shut down. The exit, they just closed it. The police were like, get out of here. Don't come this way. Well, then the fire marshal just entirely shut down that whole store and sent because 23 people were treated for heat-related illnesses. 3 people actually went to the hospital. It was insane. So we boot scoot on to Chattanooga. Right? We get to Chattanooga. We get in, we park, And we're walking to the end of the line. And at this point, it's like 6:30, 7 o'clock Eastern time. And we're like, if we stay here in this line, we're not going to make it to the Nashville store before midnight. Like, if we stay here. Because it's almost 3 hours from Chattanooga to the Nashville store. So we walk back to the car. We all take pictures of the store to make sure, they knew we were there. But we were 100% willing to give up $500 in store credit because we were like, we won't make it. And they had already extended, because it was supposed to be from the time that the store opened until close. But they kept some employees at the stores until midnight.
I think because they didn't realize it was going to be...
Yeah, it was thousands of people. I heard that at Mebane, it was like 10,000 people that showed up. And I believe it, especially with the way that those lines were. It was crazy. Because like we were behind a guy in line who he would leave his girlfriend in line, and then he would go and like see the progress of the lines. Like he would go walk around and scope stuff out. And like at one point he comes back and he has these people in this line over here that has like branched off from the line around the building. And we're like, yeah, he goes, they're fixing to be pissed because that line goes absolutely nowhere. It goes nowhere. So, and I'm like, isn't there anybody at either end of these lines that's like, this is going nowhere? But whatever. So we almost watched this lady get into this fist fight with this man because he was like, you're skipping line and me. It's just, it was batshit. But we finally get to the Nashville store at like 10:30 our time. And, it's the lines like almost to Old Hickory Boulevard. Like it's going down the hill. And we're like, I was like, we're getting in line. So we were only in that line for about an hour though. It moved really fast. We get up there. There's a lady who's like so appreciative that we've been like, she's just like, thank you for coming. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being here. It was precious. Get up there, the guy goes, so, what have you gotten? And we're like, nothing. We've got nothing. We've been on the road for almost 24 hours. We have nothing but a bookmark that has a 5-cent trade on it and a stamp that says Mebane. And he looks at it and he was like, he knew we'd been in the trenches. So he was like, I'm going to take care of you. He gave us $800 each and then an extra $30 because we didn't get any of the swag, which we appreciated. So
yeah, they had no idea it was going to be as big as it was. I did see the survey thing that they put out after the fact.
Oh, it was hilarious.
Some of them were like, did you get in a fight? Or, did you witness a fight? Or
there was a lady, I keep trying to use my mouse, it's not plugged in. But there was a lady who made a Google document. Let me see if I can find it. McKay's. She put it in the group.
Was that the one with the pie charts?
She made some pie charts, but she had like a Google document of like top experiences or something.
I saw the pie charts.
Yeah. Let me search in this group. There we go. Where did you start? Most people started at 75% of people who did this out of 600 responses started at Mebane. It was okay. So, follow-up questions. These are the craziest responses to the Google thing that she submitted. Number 1, a lady tried to run over the cop blocking the Knoxville exit for who knows what reason. It was like watching Cops, the TV show, in real life. Wow. Wrong way driver on I-40 in Newport.
Okay.
People jumping out of cars on the interstate and running to the Chattanooga store.
Okay.
People walking in front of our moving car without looking and getting mad that they were almost hit. They get even crazier. People climbing through the fence at the Chattanooga store while we were sitting on the exit ramp. A kid about 8 to 9 years old wearing full footy pajamas, long sleeved and zipped up all the way to the neck at about 2 p.m. at Knoxville when it was 100 degrees outside.
Oh my God.
Somebody driving on the road had their dog in a crate strapped to the top of their SUV.
Okay.
People walking in a circle at Mebane for 30 minutes before realizing they weren't making any progress in the line. Mebane as a whole, that place, if I never go back there, I will not be mad about it. The dogs fighting with each other at Knoxville. Yeah, a lot of people brought their dogs on this like hot pavement. Like one guy, he felt so bad for had a chocolate lab. He kept wearing him on his back, and I think somebody mentioned it in one of their responses. People going 110 on the road trip, like, and then has Life 360. We saw a car on fire, but I don't know if it was related or not. A little girl pulling her whole dress up and proceeding to urinate in a parking lot with 10,000 people. The people had infants, people walking on the side of the highway, including children. So my van being towed down the street in Mebane. I think I saw that van on the tow truck. Thankfully paid the fee and they dropped it right there in the street so we could continue on. The McKay's employee stamping the passports. He was cussing and having a complete anger meltdown.
I probably would have too if I were a McKay's worker.
A guy threw up all over himself in line, but he refused to get out of line.
Oh my God.
A lady threatened to shoot a group who were trying to cut in Mebane. She wasn't joking and they changed their minds and apologized. The Virginia state line sign I did not expect to see. Which I woke up to the sunrise in Virginia, which was very nice. Let's see. We were at Knoxville when it got shut down. People were taking pictures with police officers for proof for the next stop. Let's see. That was the one. Okay. So dude with a grocery cart with bags of ice, water, and Gatorade that he bought at Walmart and wheeled down to the Mebane store. Sold water for $3, Gatorade for $5. Besides the sheer amount of people, the lady who had the cojones to walk into the Mebane store location complaining about the wait time. This was one of my favorites. Long lines in Mebane and Knoxville. Lady stealing stacks of trade credit that were already stickered in Knoxville. And another lady coming into Mebane from back of the line who complained it was hot, and she grabbed 2 passports off the table and walked out. There was a man with Italian ice who put his cart in a yard to make money. I think that was at the Mebane store. A lady in a van fighting with police and almost ran him over as he yelled at her, calling for backup to arrest her because they closed the entrance to the Knoxville store and she was pissed.
This kind of shit it's what brings out the crazy.
Oh, yeah. Someone totally tore up their bumper leaving the Nashville location. Someone wearing a weird Chainsaw Massacre face mask in the Knoxville line.
Okay.
A man was screaming at a tow truck operator for getting his van. He screamed for his kids, who were probably about 6 and 8 years old, to stand in front of the truck as it was moving.
Oh, my gosh.
People using their car's sunshade over them to protect themselves from the sun in Winston-Salem.
That's kind of smart, though.
The man on the Facebook group that shit his pants at mile marker 81. Ghostbusters car. We saw at every location we were at, we saw this white minivan that looked like the Ghostbusters car. Boomers yelling, "Yo-yo dude." I did not get to experience yo-yo dude.
Aww.
Thousands of people forming a trauma bond. A worker from the Mebane store honked at my son aggressively several times when my son was sitting on the curb near a parking spot. There were at least 3 other parking spots right next to the one my son was sitting near, yet the worker still immediately started honking when he saw my son. Other people in line made some comment or gesture or something to the worker, and when he got out, he angrily told everyone he was just trying to get into work. No reason to get upset with my child honking at him while there were multiple available spots right there. I'm assuming he's the same person others have complained they encountered in Mebane. They said a McKay's worker told them to fucking move because he'd been trying to get to work for a fucking hour. Someone was breastfeeding a newborn while playing D&D at the Mebane store.
Hey.
Sometimes you gotta do it when you gotta do it. A teenager in McKay's in Knoxville holding a mushroom in a box and using a spray bottle to keep it wet.
Oh.
Someone hit a parked car in the Nashville McKay's parking lot. A lady peeing standing up. Someone asked another person in line for cocaine.
Okay.
A man cut us in line at Knoxville because, quote, his 81-year-old mother-in-law passed out from heat exhaustion and he needed his book stamped. He was rude and gross and he shoved me.
Listen, priorities.
I told a man he couldn't cut in line in front of me as I was standing at the stamp table in Knoxville after 2 hours of the line. He screamed at me that his 80-year-old mother was being treated by the EMT right now, and then he screamed, "She is more important than this passport." But he was not with her. He was with his true love, the passport. Another, and this is a different, these are 3 different people who have put this response about this dude. Dude cut in line because his mother-in-law passed out. Priorities. Girl held a salad in her hand as if on display for 3 hours in the Mebane line from approximately 8 to 11.
Okay.
She never ate it, just held the salad in the blistering heat, which reminds me somebody DoorDashed to Chick-fil-A while we were in the Mebane line. The guy in the group demanding that McKay's just give the $800 credit to everyone because, quote, people are going to die.
But did anyone actually die?
No. People getting hit by a car backing up. 2 girls with the audacity to try and cut in line, explaining that they had been there for 2 hours waiting, but couldn't explain why they weren't in line. Aw. A dog collapsed from heat exhaustion and his owner tugging him along. Some of these are new that I didn't see before. This has been updated. So apparently there was a wildfire on the highway.
Okay.
More heard than saw, but someone in line was threatening to shoot up Mebane. Someone heard it and was warning people on the way to warn the employees. My friend broke her knee.
Oh.
The guy in front of us was the one carrying his chocolate lab like a backpack. A lady threatened to shoot me because she thought I was cutting. I wasn't. A Knoxville McKay's employee screaming at my family. And a cop falling over trying to help a woman who passed out. Trying to help her stand up.
Oh, my. Wow.
So it was a fun trip.
It was fun had by all, sounds like. Well,
so anyway.
I got nothing to top that. I did work, kids. I
got work cats.
Oh, well.
Ziggy boy, peeing on stuff. Not stuff, rugs. Yeah, we're working on it.
I got a dog that apparently likes to escape and make a run for it.
She said parkour.
Man, I tell you, she does it. She did it off the sliding glass door the other day. I was like, "You're gonna break it." She's feral, absolutely feral. You got to spend a little bit of time with her last weekend.
Yeah,
that's a story.
That is a story.
So last Saturday, Brittany sends me this TikTok, and it was like all these women were like moms and their adult daughters, and they had all gotten together and having a moo-moos and margaritas party. And Brittany sends it to me, and she goes, I can't wait till the girls are old enough so that we can do this. And I'm like, you got to have the margaritas. We have a moo-moo party. And I'm like, hear me out, because Maddie was at work. I'm like, hear me out. I'll go to Walmart and get me and the girls some moo-moos. And then you come over here, and we'll pick Maddie up from work in our moo-moos and be like, come on, we're having a moo-moo party. And then we'll come back to the house and we'll play Harry Potter Clue.
Which was fun, by the way. I really liked that game.
Brittany was down. She was super excited.
Somebody was taking forever to pick her people that she was guessing. And I'm like, are you checking who you already have? Because she's sitting over there playing eeny, meeny, miny, moe with the thing. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, no, you ain't. Girl, quit lying.
Yeah. Well, Brittany was all excited because she thought this whole situation of us picking Maddie up from work was going to embarrass her. So I jump out of the car. Like, I'm like, here, Maddie's coming out the door. I'm like, okay, here she is. Everybody jumps out of the car. There's people in the parking lot, mind you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, let's go, Maddie. We're having a moo-moo party. And
she was super
stoked on it. Her moo-moo, and she's like, really?
Yeah.
Yes. She was not embarrassed. Brittany was a little let down. She got real excited, but it was a good time. It was a good night.
It was fun.
Even though I tripped the breaker in my house.
And like to have never fixed it.
Yeah.
But it's okay. We got it fixed.
Now I know how to fix it.
This was after we moved the air fryer to the living room.
You ever tried to air fry something in your living room? I have now.
I mean, it worked.
It did. It did. But yeah.
In a pinch, if you ever need to do that. You know.
So, there's that. Now we know.
Yeah.
Now we know. But anyway. You got anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, let's jump right on into this week's discussion.
Yeah. So I wrote this week's episode, and I tried to put like note from me. This way it doesn't sound like if I have like something extra to say, no matter who's reading it, it'll make sense. Gotcha. So it doesn't sound like, so you're not saying I.
Oh, well, yeah, you're going to have to like, in the one that I just finished today, it definitely, there's some of them that say I, and
whatever.
Like, she'll figure it out.
So I said, many of these are not traditionally scary. As I went on, I was like, why did I do this? Because a lot of these are not really all that scary. But I was already balls deep in it, so I wouldn't be giving it up, is what I put, when I'm right at the finish line. But honorable mention for the gnat that keeps flying around my face. The whole time I was writing this episode, there was this little gnat in my face. And I guess we can drop F-bombs this episode because I already done it by reading quotes.
Oh, I didn't even hear it.
I said it twice. I said it twice.
I didn't even think about it. So, in case we didn't say it before, this is scariest places on Earth.
Yeah.
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
I can go first.
Okay.
So from the outside, the Capuchin Monastery looks like any other building. However, through the doors, visitors can descend into the large Capuchin catacombs. And through the catacombs, there are nearly 8,000 corpses in varying positions, and some are pinned to the walls, sitting on benches and shelves, as well as tucked away in open coffins. Each corpse is dressed in their Sunday best.
That's one thing that I've always wanted to do, is to go into like some ancient catacomb type situation.
Do you know New York City has catacombs?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So in our society, those who have been long dead are kept out of sight and hidden from the living. But in countries like Italy, nothing stands between the living and the dead, besides maybe a rope and a sign asking visitors to remain respectful of their surroundings. The catacombs have been divided into 2 separate corridors, each one the final resting place for a specific type of person. One room is for religious figures, primarily those affiliated with the monastery itself, professionals such as doctors, and then there is a room for women, virgins, and infants.
So, like, if
Look at
you're
that
a
lady in her dress.
virgin man, they would put you in that room? How do they
Yeah.
know if you're a virgin?
I guess you'd have to fill out a form. I don't know. The oldest corpse in the collection is that of Silvestro de Gubbio, a friar who died in 1599. In the 1700s, 45 totally intact bodies were located in the Capuchin convent, and this attracted a lot of attention, and over time, the Capuchins began to accept more and more lay people. Until 1783, they finally conceded to allow anyone to request to be buried there. The additional corridors were created and the catacombs were expanded, allowing what was once a private cemetery for friars to become a morbid museum of death. From the 17th to the 19th centuries, thousands requested to be buried here, but especially wealthy citizens of Palmero and rich celebrities, as they could afford the donations requested for the friars' mummification process, so they could be prepared for eternal display in the walls of the catacombs. The mummification process became a status symbol as a way to preserve status and dignity even in death. The catacombs closed in 1880 with the exception of 2 more bodies. The first was added in 1911 and was Giovanni Paterniti, the vice consul of the United States. And then the final resident was added in 1920 and was Rosalia Lombardo, who died at just age 2 years old and is known today as the world's most beautiful mummy. The embalming process has kept Rosalia looking remarkably preserved, and she has been dubbed Sleeping Beauty. The embalming process used had been lost for decades, but consists of formalin to kill bacteria, alcohol to dry the body, glycerin to keep her from over-drying, salicylic acid to kill fungi, and the most important ingredient, zinc salts, to give the body rigidity. It is believed that the incredibly dry atmosphere allowed for a more natural mummification process, and initially the friars would simply lay the dead upon shelves and allow them to basically drip dry until they were completely depleted of all bodily fluids. And a year later, the dried out corpse would be rinsed with vinegar before being redressed in their best clothes and sent to their final room to stand for eternity. I swear, if somebody stands me up for the rest of my life, if I'm on my feet for the rest of eternity, I'm going to be mad. I'm haunting somebody.
Did you see a picture of this little girl?
No. I don't think so. I don't know.
She is, if this is the correct one, you've seen pictures.
Probably.
Before. She is absolutely gorgeous.
But the catacombs are open for tours, and the rules for visiting include that visitors are prohibited to take photos, shoot, or touch the exhibits. But that could just be a bad Google translation. You're not allowed to shoot the exhibits.
Oh, well.
So, that was that one. While not, like I said, traditionally scary, it is creepy.
Hold on, I'm trying to...
Ziggy
I sent
boy.
you a picture in Teams.
Ziggy boy. Oh, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is the Island of the Dead Dolls. And I've heard of this too. Located in Mexico City, Mexico, between the canals of the... Thanks for including...
Yeah, I didn't.
See, on the next episode, I included pronunciations.
I didn't think about it.
Rude. Let's see if we can get a pronunciation for this word. Because I'm not even going to... It didn't copy it. Why is it not copying that?
I don't know. Are you doing it right?
There we go. I can't even try to pronunciate that. Salchimical. Salchimical. Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Is a small island that was never intended to be a tourist destination. This island is home to hundreds, if not thousands, of dolls and their severed limbs, decapitated heads, and blank stares hanging from the trees. It is said that a girl was found drowned under mysterious circumstances and that the dolls are possessed by her spirit. Local legend says that the dolls move their heads and arms and have even opened their eyes. Witnesses have claimed to have heard the dolls whispering to each other. Other witnesses who were on a boat nearby the island said that the dolls tried to lure them to come down to the island. But who made the island of the dolls? The caretaker of the island was Don Julian Santana Barrera, who had left his wife and child and moved to the island. The story goes that he found a little girl drowned and was not able to save her life. Shortly after finding her, he found a doll floating near the canals. It is likely that the doll belonged to the little girl. He picked up the doll and hung it from a tree as a way of showing respect and support to the spirit of the little girl. It's been reported by several, including some family members of Julian's, that the little girl never existed, and Julian simply made up the story about her in his solitude on the island. He claimed that he was haunted by her spirit and started to hang more and more dolls to the trees in an attempt to please her spirit. He would pick through trash in the canals near his island home and would even trade produce that he grew to some locals for even more dolls. He wouldn't attempt to fix the dolls and would simply hang them as they were, missing appendages and all. He also filled his cabin with dolls and would dress them in headdresses, sunglasses, and other decorations. He said that he realized that the dolls themselves were possessed by the spirits of dead girls, and he continued to collect creepy dolls and hung them all over the island. Those who knew him said that it was as though Julian was being driven by some unseen force that completely changed his personality. Apparently, he was very troubled by the fact that he was not able to save the little girl's life. Julian spent 50 years collecting dolls and hanging them on the island until he was found drowned in the same spot where he claimed to have found the little girl. Many people believe that he has now joined the other spirits of the island. The locals are very faithful to the island and believe it is a charmed place. After the death of Julian in 2001, the island became a tourist destination and visitors bring more dolls. The island has been featured on some TV shows and in many articles. Many people have found the island to be quite frightening, but Julian saw the dolls as beautiful protectors. Nonetheless, there's no doubt that the island is creepy as hell, and all of them dolls is creepy as hell with all of them doll parts hanging around.
It is true. It is quite creepy.
What are you playing over there? Are you?
I accidentally clicked on an ad.
Are you queuing a word to figure out how to pronounce it on yours?
No, I accidentally clicked on a Neutrogena ad on Facebook. So if you haven't listened to our episode on asylums, I would encourage you to go back and give it a listen. But since this place was on the list, we will give you a quick history of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
Did we include that one in that episode?
I believe we did.
Okay.
I believe we did.
I don't remember.
Constructed between 1858, and if not, then here, enjoy this brand new information.
Right.
Constructed between 1858 and 1881, this asylum is the largest hand-cut stone masonry building in North America and is reported to be the second largest in the world. The first being the Kremlin, which I'm not real sure what that is. I didn't look it up.
I'm looking it up right now.
I may have when I typed this, but I don't remember that. The asylum was designed by renowned architect Richard Andrews and followed the Kirkbride plan, which planned for long, rambling wings that were arranged in a staggering formation, and this would assure that each of the connecting structures received an abundance of therapeutic sunlight and fresh air. What did I just click? The original hospital was to house 250 people and was opened to patients in 1864. It reached its peak in the 1950s with 2,400 patients living in overcrowded and overall poor conditions. With the improvements made to the mental health field and treatments, along with the physical deterioration of the facility, it was forced to close in 1994. And this closure destroyed the local economy, and it has never fully recovered. With thousands of souls having been committed to the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum and hundreds of them dying while confined here, it is no surprise that many of them are said to still be occupying the wards and treatment rooms. There have been many sightings of apparitions, unexplainable voices and sounds, and a lot of other paranormal activity reported by both guests and staff. The asylum was featured on Ghost Hunters, Ghost Hunters Academy, Ghost Adventures, and Paranormal Challenge. And ghost tours run through the month of October, and for the low price of $100, you can even spend the night. You can go spending the night
on the low.
I did put a pronunciation of this one for you.
Did you? Because I was literally just
it's the link right under the title.
Pause for dramatic effect so I can hear how to say this.
I think I even put the phonetic in the
Hoya
first.
Bachu.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hoya Bachu.
Got it. Okay, so the Hoya Baciu Forest is said to be the Bermuda Triangle of Romania. You did put it. The Hoya Baciu Forest is allegedly one of the most haunted forests in the world and is nestled right in the heart of Transylvania. The forest is thought to have existed since prehistoric times, and archaeological excavations of the area have uncovered evidence of human habitation dating back to the Paleolithic era. That's a hard word for me.
Look at them trees, though.
I know. The name of the forest, Hoya Baciu, refers to a local legend about a shepherd named Baciu who ventured into the forest with his flock of about 200 sheep, and then he and his sheep just simply vanished. To this day, no one knows what became of Baciu and his flock. According to local legends, there are ghosts and spirits lurking among the crooked trees of the forest. Those who venture into the forest after dark are said to encounter the restless spirits of the dead, hear strange whispers seemingly carried by the wind, or see unexplainable lights hovering among the trees. One of the most famous local legends is that of the forest's clearing, where there's a circular area where no trees grow and strange things occur. The locals believe that this clearing is barren due to a curse, and that those who enter it may be affected by its negative energy. Scientists believe that there is a possibility that the site was once an ancient burial ground, or that the soil composition is not suitable enough for tree growth. There's also the story of a young girl who disappeared in the forest only to reappear 5 years later with no recollection of where she had been. There are also rumors of alien encounters, of course, why not?
Yeah.
In the forest. Sightings have been reported since the 1960s when biologists named Alexandru Sift captured a photo of a disc-shaped object hovering over the clearing. That's kind of what I thought when I saw that picture of it, is it looked like a spaceship area.
Yeah, it literally looks like a landing pad for a UFO.
Right. In recent years, the forest has attracted shows like Destination Truth and, of course, Ghost Adventures.
Yeah.
And they've documented their own experiences and attempted to capture evidence of the paranormal in these woods. For those who are brave enough to venture into the mysterious forest, there are several ways to do so. There are tour guides available, and they offer visitors the opportunity to learn about the history of the forest, legends, and the paranormal activity. You can even have a more immersive experience and stay at one of the campsites. This is said to not be for the faint of heart, as many campers have reported strange occurrences and unexplained noises throughout the night. This is going to be a long night, apparently. I can't talk.
Yeah.
It's like we start going and my tongue starts swelling.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well. From the outside, this appears to be like any other church, but within the walls of the Sedlik ossuary in the suburbs of Kutna Hora in the Czech Republic lies approximately 40,000 to 70,000 skeletons. The ossuary is known as the Bone Church, and it displays some of the world's most macabre art, including a bone chandelier composed of nearly every bone within the human body.
Okay, so like, hear me out. I love it. I absolutely, that's
Oh, there's more.
as morbid as that may be. I love that.
Yeah, I like it. It's definitely unique.
Oh, we could make one of those, not with like real human bones, but like, you know, for
You want to be
Halloween
serial
decorations.
killers with me?
Like Halloween decorations. No, I'm not killing anybody. I can't even kill a fish. What are you talking about?
There are also 2 large bone chalices for Baroque or Baroque. Baroque. That's right.
Maybe.
Baroque bone candelabras, 6 massive bone pyramids, 2 bone monstrances. This is a vessel that is used to display the Eucharist host, and they're not very large. They're quite small. There is a family crest made out of bone and skull candle holders. There are also chains of bones hung throughout in a similar fashion to crepe paper you might use for birthday parties. In 1278, the King of Bohemia sent Abbot Henry, the abbot of the Sedlic Cistercian monastery in Jerusalem. When the abbot returned, he had brought with him a jar of dirt from... I've got a jar of dirt from the Golgotha, known as the Holy Soil. He scattered his holy soil across the Sedlic cemetery and secured its place as one of the most desired burial sites for people all over Bohemia and other surrounding countries. Any and everyone wanted to be buried in that handful of the Holy Land, and more than 30,000 were. But it wasn't long before they simply ran out of room, and the bodies began to be moved to the crypt to make way for the newly dead. In 1870, a local woodcarver was employed with the task of artistically arranging the thousands of bones, and František Rent came up with the Bone Church's chandelier, as well as the Schwarzenberg coat of arms, which includes a raven pecking at the severed head of a Turk, all of which were made of bone. Rent bleached the bones in the ossuary in order to give them the room a more uniform look. Even today, his artist's signature is on the wall in bone, of course.
Okay, so noted. In the event that I ever get to go to the Czech Republic,
Yeah,
this is on my list of places to go.
for sure.
I love it. All right, so the next one.
Also have the pronunciation of this
Thank you, I
one.
appreciate that one. Built in 1989, this hospital complex located in Belitz, Heilstatten district was used as a sanatorium for lung diseases, primarily tuberculosis patients, until 1930. During World War I, it was used as a field hospital that treated the earliest casualties of new weapons like the machine gun and mustard gas. During this time, the hospital treated a soldier by the name of Adolf Hitler, who had been blinded by a British gas attack and suffered a wound to his leg during the Battle of Somme. Is that right?
Yeah, or Somme.
Somme, maybe. These injuries earned him the Iron Cross. These experiences and his successful treatment and recovery set the stage for this hospital to be used again during World War II as a field hospital to treat wounded Nazis. Occupied by Russians in 1945, it served as a Soviet military hospital for the next 50 years until 1995, long after the fall of the Berlin Wall. The hospital was used to treat everyone from Communist Party members to the disgraced head of the East German government, who was sent there after being forced out in 1990.
Not me using the wrong form of there.
I literally just thought that same thing.
Oops.
Today, small portions of the complex are used for neurological rehabilitation and Parkinson's disease research, but the majority of the complex has been left abandoned. Included in the abandoned buildings are the surgery ward, the psychiatric ward, and a rifle range. In 2002, the hospital was used as a set for the film The Pianist. It was also used for the 2008 Tom Cruise film Valkyrie and for the Mine Hers Brent music video by Rammstein. That's what I thought. None of the complex was guarded until 2015, so it was a popular urban exploration spot and drew in drinking teenagers or those looking to give themselves a good scare. In 2015, the ruins were outfitted with a canopy pathway, which allows visitors to view the ruins on every level without needing to enter any of the buildings, and it is handicap accessible.
Which I don't need to be on that structure.
I mean, what do you mean?
That's terrifying.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No. No thanks. And then
there is a note for me.
Yeah, see that? Brittany says she couldn't find any stories about this place being haunted or anything, so she's not 100% sure why it was on the scariest places in the world list for anything other than Hitler was treated there, and it's old and mostly abandoned and falling apart. But the photos online are pretty cool to see, though. It is a pretty cool looking little place.
Yeah, after I put in all that like history information, I was like, is this place haunted or anything? And I looked and I couldn't find nothing.
I like how there's like trees growing on top of it, like on the roof.
I like watching nature take back over. Beginning in the early 1960s, Finnish-born artist Veijo Ronkainen constructed nearly 500 concrete statues and displayed them on the grounds of the home he had lived in since he was born. He did this until his death in 2010. Many of the figures are performing various activities. For instance, there is one cluster of about 200 sculptures that are said to be self-portraits of the artist, and all of them are doing various yoga poses. The sculptures are not very lifelike in the usual sense, but do seem to possess an otherworldly and sometimes sinister quality about them. Many of them have blank, sunken eyes, and their body proportions are skeletal. They possess ghoulish grins, and in some cases, with real human teeth. There are some non-human sculptures as well, and those include large tree-like structures with cone-shaped branches. When he was alive, Ronkainen was known to be reclusive. Despite him being a paper mill worker in his small town, Ronkainen was very well read and was said to have experienced the world through the page, and the many ethnicities depicted in his statues seem to back this up. He never discouraged visitors, but he did remain aloof from the tourist activities surrounding his sculptures. He had requests to showcase his work outside of his private residence, but he always refused. Following his death, the sculpture garden and his property were purchased by Finnish businessman Reino Uusitalo, who had plans to refurbish the sculptures as needed and offer guided tours of the premises. And there's some pictures of these.
Who's pulling in your driveway?
I don't know. I gotta check my camera. Somebody out there making my thing go bing bong. That is not the camera I clicked on.
These sculptures are terrifying.
Oh, it might be Amazon. I did order something. Hold on. Yeah, it was the Zon. The Zon. But yeah, those sculptures are not the most attractive looking things I've ever seen. And of course, there will be pictures. I'll post these same pictures on our Facebook.
Ooh, I'm glad I got this one.
The images are quite unsettling at best and definitely give weeping angel vibes for sure.
For sure. I'm excited about this one. And I'll say this when I'm done to make sure you didn't include this. So this is another place that we've kind of touched on in previous episodes, but I'm going to give you a brief history of the Lowry Mansion for those of you who have not listened to any of our New Orleans episodes yet. Also, if you haven't,
highly recommend.
What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Those should have been the first ones you listened to. In the heart of the French Quarter, on the corner of Royal Street, sits the Lowry Mansion. I keep wanting to say mountain. It was originally built in 1832 by Dr. Louis Lowry and his wife Delphine, and served as a testament to both their affluence and their high social status. But underneath the surface was a dark secret. Madame Delphine Lowry was revered for her beauty and grace within the elite circles of New Orleans, but there were rumors of her brutal treatment of her slaves circulating and casting a dark shadow on her radiant image. One day in 1834, a fire broke out at the mansion and revealed the chamber of horrors within. The firefighters who responded to the scene found enslaved individuals who had been grotesquely abused and subjected to totally inhumane conditions. This news sent shockwaves through New Orleans that remain etched in the city's memory, and tales of hauntings are abound even today. It is said that the slave spirits who were tormented by Madame Lowry refused to leave the mansion, and their anguished cries echo through its halls after the sun goes down. Visitors have reported a heavy, oppressive atmosphere in certain areas of the home, sudden and unexplainable drops in temperature, and inexplicable sounds that seem to echo the pain of the past. Some paranormal investigators have captured ghostly voices and apparitions in photos, which further fuels the mansion's reputation as being one of the most haunted places in New Orleans. Many people who have passed by the mansion have claimed to see apparitions in the upper windows, the silhouettes flickering in the moonlight. Other people have reported hearing the sound of chains rattling and feeling unseen hands brush against their skin. These alleged encounters give credence to the belief that the spirits of the tortured have not yet found the peace they deserve. So you did not include it. I recently saw that this is for sale.
Yeah, I hadn't. I wrote this before I saw that TikTok.
Hold on. I literally think I was looking at this like last night. Okay, so yeah. So here it is. As of like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, it looks like it is 8 beds, 8 full baths with 2 partial baths, so 8.5 baths. Well,
9 total, but 2 of them are half baths.
10,284 square feet. And you can buy this to have it as your very own for the low price of $10,250,000.
What a dream. See, if I won the lottery, I wouldn't tell nobody, but there would be signs.
10 out of 10. The inside of it, amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
I don't know if I'd want to live there, though. I would turn it into a tourist attraction, because you know how many people want to fucking go through that
Airbnb
house.
That bitch.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, hell yeah, brother. That's a good idea.
Airbnb that bitch. I'd pay to stay there one singular night.
Offer like group,
for like $100.
Yeah. Ooh, that would be so good.
But there are people out there that would spend hundreds.
Oh, yeah.
A night to stay there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
If not more than that.
And I don't know of any, have there been any, did I say that in the thing? It just says paranormal investigators. Have we seen Ghost Adventures or?
I don't think so.
Come on in.
Yeah, as far as I know, no TV shows have been in there. That TikTok was the first time I'd ever seen the inside of it.
I wonder,
because it's been privately owned for years.
American Horror Story Coven.
Oh, didn't they film there?
That's what I'm about to say. Filmed the Laurie Mansion.
This little booger. He looks so comfortable. Maybe he will pee on one.
It may have been filmed there. I don't think that's it's not the main house that they're in, but she's part of the story, and it does show her like at the beginning. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they did, in fact. Interior shots of the Lowry Mansion were filmed at the Herman. Nope, it wasn't.
Okay, so it was supposed to look like the Lowry Mansion, but it wasn't. Gotcha.
See, but it's all. I would just. I don't think we went by there when we went to New Orleans. But 10 out of 10. When and if I get to take a trip to New Orleans. That's a bucket we definitely list. Go in out of our way to go by there.
Yeah. So located in the hot Karakum Desert in Turkmenistan, near the 350-person village of Darvaza, is a hole in the earth that is 230 feet wide that has been on fire for over 50 years.
Okay.
Scientifically called a gas crater, the locals call it the gates of hell, and rightfully so. Its fiery glow can be seen for miles. And it looks terrifying.
It does. It's just like the earth opens up and here you go.
So the Gates of Hell crater was created in 1971 when a Soviet drilling rig accidentally drilled right into a massive underground natural gas cavern, which caused the ground to collapse and the entire drilling rig to fall in. Having punctured a pocket of gas, poisonous flames... Go away. Poisonous fumes began to leak at an alarming rate. I had something pop up in front of it while I was trying to read it. To attempt to head off a potential environmental catastrophe, the Soviets set the hole on fire with the thought that it would stop burning within a few weeks. Decades later, and the pit is still on fire, and the drilling rig is believed to still be down there somewhere. Despite the foreboding name and the constant flames, people still make the trek into the desert to witness the site, and the nearby desert has become a popular place for camping. The fate of the crater is, however, in limbo as of January 2022. The president, whose name I cannot, my country bumpkin ass cannot pronounce, ordered the government of Turkmenistan to begin researching how to put out the fire and seal off the crater so that the gases that are escaping the hole will not cause any further damage to the human health of those in the area and the atmosphere. Adventurer George Koronis.
That's how I would say it.
Koronis, maybe. Descending, there's a photo of him descending into the crater. Well, listen to both of us. And he was the first person to do so. He described the feeling as being a bit like a baked potato. He did say the biggest challenge wasn't rappelling down into the 100-foot deep hole, but actually getting into the country of Turkmenistan, because it is one of the most closed countries in the world. He and his crew obtained entry in 2013 after trying for 2 years to gain access. He was quoted as saying, "It is burning with a tremendous amount of flame, like there is a lot of fire down there. Day or night, it is clearly burning. You can hear the roar of the fire if you stand at the edge. The heat, if you were downwind of it, is unbearable. There are thousands of little flames all around the edges and toward the center. There are two large flames in the middle at the bottom, and that is probably where the drilling rig hole was for the natural gas extraction." And then a note from me while writing. I just want to say how hilarious I think it is that this place is on TripAdvisor, and it has a know before you go section. And it has 5 stars. Someone gave it 2 stars in April. This set a trend for the rest of the places. I just want you to know. So someone, hold on. My shit's all messed up. Okay. So someone in April of this year gave it 2 stars because the 160-mile ride from Ashgabat on horrifically bad roads does not make a visit worthwhile. The yurt camp nearby is fine. 2 reviews below this were 5-star reviews that also said that the roads were bad, but the trip was so awesome and it was totally worth it.
Okay. So this next one is the Christ of the Abyss. Typically, you can find figures of the divine in more densely populated areas, and rarely are they found in the middle of nowhere, and even more rarely are they found in a body of water. The bronze likeness of Jesus Christ himself was made by artist Guido Galletti and placed at the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea. It was inspired by a concept by Italian diver Duilio Marconte? Sure.
That's how I would say it.
The statue was installed 17 meters, so about 55 feet, under the waves on August 22nd of 1954, where it remains. When it was placed, the statue was dedicated to those who had lost their lives at sea. For more than half a century, the Christ of the Abyss has primarily remained in the same place, but it has been brought out in 2003 for some restoration due to corrosion that was being caused by the salt water. The statue does undergo regular underwater cleaning to keep the buildup of patina on the surface under some sort of control. There have been similar statues placed underwater and even some above ground all over the world. Some of them pay homage to the original and some of them are just merely copycats. 7 years after the original was cast, a second bronze sculpture was cast from the same mold, and it was submerged off the coast of St. George's, Grenada, in the southeastern Caribbean Sea, or Caribbean, however you want to say that.
Caribbean.
It was placed on October 22nd, 1961, and was a gift from Italy in recognition of the Italian crew saved from the sinking of the MV Bianca C, a passenger ship that had sunk off of St. George's earlier that year. There is one in Key Largo, Florida, that was the third cast from the original Italian mold.
I left off an L.
This one was submerged on August 25th, 1965, near the dry rocks in the John Penncamp Coral Reef State Park. The statue was donated to the Underwater Society of America by the Italian dive equipment manufacturer Egidio Cresci. The original clay statue from which this first sculpture was cast is now in Ravenna, Italy's National Museum of Underwater Activities. It is, again, I mean, it's
again, not traditionally creepy or weird or scary or whatever, but a lot of people have like issues with like human-like things being underwater.
Yes. I mean, if I'm around there, if I'm just diving
and I don't know it's there,
and I just come up
be like, ah! And then run.
It's Jesus.
Swim away.
I'd be like, oh no, the rapture is coming. It's happening.
Please don't take me.
You already know. You've already got a spot there.
Yeah, my spot in heaven. The Hill of Crosses in Lithuania has become a sort of holy mecca for the country's Catholics and religious devotees from all around the world, many of whom will make the pilgrimage to bring new crosses to the hill. The origins of the site remain a mystery, but for many Lithuanians it serves as a testament to the country's faith and sacrifice. Today it is known as a cultural landmark, but there was a time when placing a cross on a hill was viewed as an act of rebellion. The hill has been covered with... Ooh, you naughty! The hill has been covered with crosses for as long as anyone can remember, and it has been speculated that there have been crosses placed here since as early as the Middle Ages. Historian Vilius Peronis told the BBC, "The hill has many secrets. Throughout the ages, magical appearances, visions of saints, and sightings of ghosts have been part of the hill's history. There is a popular legend that tells of an apparition of the Virgin Mary with the baby Jesus cradled in her arms once appeared to the faithful and asked them to decorate the site with holy symbols. Another legend says that the origins began with a distraught father whose daughter had become ill, and the story goes that as she lay dying, a woman came to the father in a vision and told him that if he made a wooden cross and placed it on the hill nearby, that his daughter would survive her illness. The man immediately carved a cross and placed it on the hill, and upon his return home, he found his daughter cured."
Wow.
There is another story that tells of a church that used to stand in the place where the hill is now, and that during a terrible storm, it was struck by lightning, and the church and everyone inside was buried underneath mounds of sand and rock. There is yet another legend that tells of a castle owned by a pagan Samogitian, Samogitian barons that once stood there until it was destroyed by the Christian Order of the Brothers of the Sword. It is said that the bodies of the slain Samogitian people were piled up and buried together, forming the mound that later became the Hill of the Crosses, and that their souls haunt the hill to this day. Today, the locals say that if you visit the hill at sunrise, you can catch a glimpse of a ghostly procession of monks walking by. According to National Geographic, the first written mention of the Hill of Crosses was in 1850, but that there is evidence of people placing them there at least as far back as the 1830s. The Scariest autocracy that controlled Lithuania at the time had very strict orders for how people could honor their dead, and many believed that the first crosses were placed on the hill to honor those who had lost their lives rebelling against the Russians in 1831. At the beginning of the 20th century, the number of crosses began to grow significantly, especially after World War I, and by the time the Soviet Union entered into World War II, the number of crosses had grown to over 400. In 1940, the Soviet Union troops entered Lithuania, and it soon fell under the USSR control, and the Soviets began to dramatically change everything about the country, from the political, social, economic, and cultural landscapes. As a result, in the decades following World War II, the Soviet government began to view the Hill of Crosses as more of a nuisance, and eventually as a symbol of rebellion against their rules about religion. In retaliation, the site was bulldozed by the Soviets and burned. All of the crosses that did not burn were sent to the scrapyard. This was done 5 times, but the locals would sneak onto the site at night and erect more crosses, and it soon became an icon of resistance to the religious oppression. In 1990, Lithuania finally declared its independence from the USSR, and the Soviet Union collapsed the following year. In 1993, just 2 years after the people of Lithuania became able to openly practice their religion, Pope John Paul II came to visit the Hill of Crosses, and while taking in the site, the pontiff declared it a place of hope, peace, and sacrifice. Today, there is no single entity that holds jurisdiction over the Hill of Crosses, and the site is maintained by a few volunteers and a collection of organizations that are working to preserve the cultural and spiritual landmark.
It gives...
I also did a little TripAdvisor.
Oh, go for it.
So I did another little TripAdvisor look and went straight to the 1-star reviews. So, this one. Quote, "It isn't really something that spectacular. Only interesting if you are quite a religious person. Otherwise, you won't be interested in it." Another says, "Lithuania is a very beautiful country. Not this place. It's very morbid. The historical value of this place has been destroyed over the years. By converting this place into a tourist spot, Anyone can buy a cross in the souvenir shop and put it on the hill, and you can see why the value of this place has been ruined over the years. And I said, cry about it, Concola 1979. Last one I'll include is, quote, "This is a weird place of religious fanatics. People bring crosses to the hill and constantly erect them. You can buy crosses from grannies and top up the existing pile. If you are not religious or just sober-minded person, don't go there. Pointless." I love that these types of places have TripAdvisor listings.
It's giving, like that second picture that you included, it's giving Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
It's giving the throne.
Yeah.
Okay. Centralia is located within the anthracite coal region of the Appalachian Mountains. It lies in Columbia County, Pennsylvania, at the intersection of Pennsylvania Route 61 and 42. Centralia was founded in 1866 by Alexander Ray as a coal mining town. It's reached its peak population in approximately 1890, with the U.S. Census reporting nearly 2,800 residents. It also had 2 theaters, 5 hotels, 7 churches, 27 saloons, 1 bank, 1 post office, and 14 general stores. Can we talk about this church to saloon ratio?
Yeah. And
it's
the
definitely
general stores.
It's obviously not in the South.
There's
Let's
20
just say
more
that.
saloons than there are churches.
That's funny to me. Anyway, I'm not going to say nothing about those general stores because you can't drive 2 miles without seeing the Dollar General.
The Dollar General has been at it since.
By the mid-1900s, though, the town had seen a decline as demand for anthracite coal had dropped and the mining jobs had moved elsewhere. In the 1950 census report, the 1950 census reported 2,000 residents. Despite the decreasing population, Centralia remained. I hope I'm saying that right. That's what it looks like.
Centralia. That's what okay. That's how I.
Centralia remained a pleasant little close-knit town where people lived and raised their families. Things would change drastically for the residents of Centralia on May 27th of 1962 when local firefighters set the town landfill on fire in order to clean it up in preparation for the upcoming Memorial Day holiday. The landfill was on top of an old strip mine pit. The fire was not full extinguished, and so the fire was able to continue burning and eventually entered the abandoned mines around the pit. As time went by, the fire grew and spread with all efforts to control it failing. Slowly, the fire moved under the town and began to directly affect residents. By the early 1980s, after 2 decades of uncontrolled burning, good Lord, can you imagine just living and there's a fire underneath you and there's nothing you can do about it? Anyway, after 2 decades of uncontrolled burning, the fire was presenting real health and safety hazards to the people still living in Centralia. Carbon monoxide gases were seeping into the homes and sinkholes were opening up. In 1984, a voluntary program began to move residents out of their homes, with many accepting buyout offers for their properties. After they would leave, the houses would be leveled. By 1990, only 62 residents remained. In 1992, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania used eminent domain to take control over the remaining properties in town. The buildings were condemned and the residents were asked to leave. Centralia's zip code of 17927 was also eliminated, and it now shares a zip code with Ashland. Many did, but there were a few who remained and sued for the right to stay. These lawsuits would go on for another 2 decades, and during this time, the population continued to decline, with the residents either leaving willingly and some were evicted from their homes. In 2013, the lawsuit ended, and the final 8 remaining residents were allowed to stay as long as they lived. They would not be allowed to sell their homes or pass the home down to anyone. Today, only a few buildings remain within the town. Centralia is a sad reminder that not every town lasts forever. All that remains of the once thriving mining town are the streets, a few homes, several graveyards, and a church. The fire continues to burn just below the surface, and if it isn't controlled, it will burn for another century. Some days, smoke can be seen coming through the ground. Ugh, that gives me the heebie-jeebies thinking about it. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest sites in Centralia was known as Graffiti Highway, which was Route 61, but this spot has since been covered with dirt mounds in April of 2020. As the 2020 census, or as of the 2020 census, the population of Centralia, Pennsylvania has dwindled down to just 4 residents. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So can you just go visit though? Have they just shut it down? Is it like a full Chernobyl situation?
I mean, that highway with all those dirt mounds.
Yeah, you can't drive through that.
Yeah, that's the highway to get into it. So I'm sure that there's still roadway to be able to access it.
They've got to with the 4 remaining citizens.
Yeah. But I don't know. I have no idea.
I got a Jeep. I don't have a Jeep. If I had a Jeep,
just start going.
Hell yeah, brother!
Yeehaw!
Yee!
So in Sagada, the people follow a unique burial ritual by which the elderly carve their own coffin out of hollowed logs.
That's morbid.
If the person is too weak or ill, then their families will prepare their coffins instead. Once the person passes, they are placed inside their coffins. Sometimes they don't quite fit well, and their bones need to be broken during the process of fitting them in. The coffins are then brought to a cave for burial, which is just one of the many ancient rituals and traditions that the people of Cordillera, an administrative region of northern Philippines, have preserved in modern times. This ancient custom begins with a burial gathering that is led by the family of the deceased. The burial consists of days of mourning, butchering the livestock, and preparing the body for entombment. After this, the family will carry the body to the cave or the cliff where the coffin is waiting. Here it is believed in this culture that carrying the dead would transfer luck, blessings, and talents to the family. Rather than the coffins being lowered into the ground, the coffins are hung either inside the caves or from the cliff face near the coffins of their ancestors. Specifically, the coffins are hung from the rocky cliffs of Sagada's Echo Valley. The Sagada people have been practicing burials such as this for over 2,000 years, and some of the coffins are well over a century old. Over time, the coffins naturally deteriorate and will fall from their precarious positions. The reasons the coffins were hung was due to the belief that the higher the dead were placed, the greater chance of their spirits reaching a higher nature in the afterlife.
Can we just talk about the fact that there are chairs?
Yeah. It's super creepy. Many of the locations of the coffins are very difficult to reach and should be left alone out of respect, but they can be appreciated from afar. These practices are good examples of how enduring the culture of the Igorot people, how enduring their culture is. This sacred burial rite is also a large part of the people's extensive historical, spiritual, and cultural heritage. It is important to remember that if you intend to visit the site, do not touch or walk under the coffins. You should be viewing from a respectful distance, and it is recommended that you bring binoculars. The amount of people who have kept this ancient tradition alive have decreased in recent years, but there is no reason to believe it may die out, as there are many who hope to be buried this way. I was looking for another article to see if there was anything to add and saw that the site has 4 stars on TripAdvisor. A few people were upset that they had to pay a lot of money for a tour guide, but one said, quote, "For those who don't want to hire a guide, you don't have to. We had an enormous fight on the entrance, but we proved that it's not legal to hire a guide if you don't want to. It's just a ripoff, as the locals do it everywhere in touristic places. You can check online and see that police confirms that you don't have to get a guide. We won that fight and walked about 2 hours happily by our own. The place is amazing. I'm not sure if the coffins are real, LOL, but the nature is cool."
Well, all right then.
And then I chose for the nonprofit of the week. I'll go ahead and just get that one out of the way. The American Heart Association. Heart disease is the number one killer worldwide, and stroke ranks second globally. Even when those conditions don't result in death, they can cause disability and diminish quality of life. We want to see a world free of cardiovascular diseases and stroke. Our size and scope have let us have real impact. The AHA has invested more than $5 billion in research, making us the largest not-for-profit funding source for cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases or disease research next to the federal government. And as per usual, there will be a link to donate directly to the American Heart Association should you feel so inclined.
Well, that was a good episode. How long have we been recording?
An hour and 21 minutes.
Dang. This might be one of our longest yet, guys.
Yeah, I got to stand up soon. My lower back hurts.
All right. Well, we want to thank y'all for coming to another week. We won't keep you any longer, but while you're here, we want to remind you to make sure that you are casting your social circles and following us on the Facebook,
Instagram,
TikTok,
X,
and sending us those emails at wandersofweird@gmail.com. Oh, she switched it up on me. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks. Okay, bye.